TV is interesting because you're a guest in someone's home, ultimately. Like, you could say, well, people choose to watch 8 out of 10 Cats. But you go, no, they don't. Some households have just got the TV on. It's like background noise the whole time and there's kids there or whatever. So you've got a different, but that's really a producer's job. I always think, like, the thing with telly for me is, like, telly's like it's a team sport. Like, you're in a team and you arrive and you're made head boy on the first day. It's a lovely thing to do, but it's a team sport. And stand up, you're just out there on your own. So it's like different rules apply. Yeah. There's a compromise to TV.
I struggled with that transition
just
a little bit, even with when I did Roast Battle and battled Maisie Adam. Obviously, you have to send your jokes to the producers in advance so that they, like, Maisie doesn't see it and you guys don't see it, but they're like, to the producers, can I say this on the telly? And even with Roast Battle, which is the anything goes, there was stuff that was like, that doesn't quite go. Like, it's so different to just getting on stage at a comedy club and being like,
What were you going to say? That sounds interesting. I was going to say some stuff on that show. Go on, what did you say? Is there a joke that was lost to the producers?
There was a joke that was heavily changed.
Right.
So there was one of the jokes I said to her was she's described as down to earth, which means she's so pale she looks like she's been dug up. She looks like a ghost of one of the prostitutes the Yorkshire Ripper killed. That was originally going to be she looks like a ghost of one of the kids buried on the Yorkshire moors.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing was...
I think they made a good decision.
We don't have producers, that's why we can keep it. I mean, we do, but it'd be amazing if Carr was like, hey, that's going out.
And for another reason, so when I'm sure she's fine with this now, when Maisie was a kid, she was left in a hotel room by her parents and she was found wandering around the hotel. I was like, but her parents did get her back. Her nickname at school was Maddie. I can't get rid of her. And they wouldn't let me say that either.
Yeah, I could see why.
Yeah,
I can see good reasons for that. Yeah, it's also that thing of, like, I think the illusion of, I always think that rule is like really, it's an interesting kind of unwritten rule of going pretty much joke about anything, but if you name a specific kid or a specific thing, it becomes problematic because ultimately they're going to hear of it, or they might hear of it, and then they would be offended. There was always a thing, like, I always thought, like, Shipman was quite a cartoony thing to, this doctor that killed so many people, it just seemed kind of, you couldn't quite get your head around it. But obviously,
because they were nanas, it was not as serious.
Like, it was somehow there was like comedically there was a lot of jokes about it. But obviously on TV you can never talk about that, because I remember at the time, sort of, and someone explaining it to me and going, well, yeah, but it's someone's nan that they loved, and they'll be watching the show and they'll be fucking horrified. So just fucking don't.
But how is Jimmy Savile the funniest punchline on the circuit for nearly 15 years? Like, because Jimmy Savile, isn't it? Like, horrific crimes.
I think I might have the best joke. I think
Jimmy Savile joke.
Yeah, Jimmy Savile, the only man in human history to have fucked more miners than Thatcher. I don't know. I mean, throw down if anyone's got a better one. I'd love to fucking hear it. I just think that's perfect.
Carl, I think we need to take that out. I think this would be the first joke you ever take out.
What stuff did you had taken out then? You said you had stuff that you wanted to do on roast, but
no, roast battle. No, I think everything stayed in. I mean, I kind of know the rules pretty well on telly on what you can and what you can't say, and the touchstones of things. And I think it's often as well. I think there's a tendency. I've got a really good friend in America called Jesse, who's Jesse Joyce, brilliant writer, and he often picks me up on stuff for roasts when we've done stuff out there. Of going like, you're getting a massive reaction with that joke, but is it a laugh?
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing with something that's like spicy at the end of a show. It has to be a whoosh of a laugh and then a sharp intake of breath. That cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Of someone's sense of humor betraying who they really are, and then their conscience kicking in after that. But if it's just getting the ooh, it's like, well, no, you're not delivering. That's not releasing endorphins for anyone. That's just people are
saying
like
a horrific thing.
Yeah, anyone could say an horrific thing. It's got to be funny.
Yeah, 100%.
And the roast in America, I feel like you can go so much further than you can over here. Do you feel that, like, just the UK sensibilities a little bit?
I think the UK one, people don't have that tradition in the same way. But I think we're much better. I mean, weirdly, I think America's got a better tradition of roasting, and we've got a better tradition of taking the piss generally in conversation. Generally, it's that great Australian phrase. You know the old Aussie phrase. You call a mate cunt, and you call a cunt mate. It's a great Aussie phrase. Yeah, it's just like perfect because you go, over here, there's a certain cachet to be able to take a joke, to go, right, okay, so I can take it, and there's a familiarity with taking the piss. And there's something about pushing it as far as you can, but not too far with your friends. That's like, it's intimacy. I really subscribe to that thing of like laughter being the shortest distance between two people.
And you feel that in American like friendships almost that's not as prevalent
as it would be. The taking the piss isn't quite as severe as it would be over
get it
here.
on TV, get it on the roast.
But the roast thing's pretty good. I mean, I did the big roast I did over there. I did a lot of roast battling in Montreal, but the big one I did was the roast of Rob Lowe, which was it was a couple of funny lines in that. I was on Fox News. I was like trending on Fox News because there was a commentator on there called Ann Coulter, who's sort of like their Piers Morgan, big Trump right-wing commentator, and she was on, and they'd written this piece for her, right? They'd written this, the writers on that show are brilliant. My friend Jesse was involved in it, actually, and they'd written this monologue for her that was fucking amazing. It was as good as, remember Martha Stewart did the roast with Snoop Dogg? And she did this, she'd been to prison and she did the roast, and she did this thing where she just banged out 15 brilliant lines in a row. Same guys that wrote that for her. And she arrived, Martha Stewart arrived and went, what have you got for me? This is brilliant. I'm not going to change a word of it. I'm just going to do it. And she, it relaunched her career. Ann Coulter, fucking idiot that she is, got handed this thing and went, no, I'll do my own stuff. And then died on Ross. And then I said, my line was, I said, look, Ann Coulter is one of the most, I looked at her and I said, you're one of the most hatchet-faced, right-wing, objectionable bitches alive. But it doesn't have to be this way. You could kill yourself.
Fucking hell.
And they...
How is that somehow worse than what you said to Pete Davidson?
Yeah, it's a little bit worse. Well, the Pete Davidson thing was like... So I tried, so obviously you're doing the roast and you want to know whether the jokes work before. So you go to clubs and you go, okay, I'm doing a roast battle tomorrow, audience, and I'm roasting these people, so what do you think? And my line on Pete was, I said I'm appalled people would joke about Pete Davidson's father, who was a firefighter who died on 9/11. He's one of the guys that ran into the building and, and attempted to save people's lives. This is not the roast of Pete Davidson's father. That was in 2001. It's a fucking good joke. So
where'd you try that though? In New York?
So I tried it it was in LA. It was in the Comedy Store. No, it was in the Improv. Tried it in the Improv. And the audience like it gets a laugh and then ooh, like it was funny, but fuck. And then there's a laugh from the back of the room, like a sustained fucking maniacal laugh from the back of the room. Pete
Davidson.
And you went, okay. Because it was like, it's one of those ones where that's spicy enough that I wouldn't do it without checking.
Yeah.
And also, I really admire Pete. I like Pete a lot. I think he's a good guy. So you'd want to go. Look, if he went, it's a bit much, you'd go leave it. But he's very open to joking about it. And I don't know how much of that is, I imagine it's an incredibly painful thing, but he separated that from the laughter is a way of processing it. It's a way of knowing that it's...
And you've got to, if you're doing the roast of whoever on Comedy Central, a lot of your life, especially the thing that everyone... Not that it's the only thing he's known for, because he's a very successful comic as well, but it's one of the first things you think of when you think of Pete Davidson.
But he gives it, doesn't he?
It's going to be used.
He's a ruthless roaster as well, isn't he? So it's not like you're just rounding on someone who's essentially an innocent. He's fucking good at it. He knows the score.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be there.